let us talk about something that is rarely discussed, something that critics of Islam have used for centuries to attack the Prophet, something that, if you have never heard it before, might shake your heart. There is a claim that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, tried to take his own life. That in the early days of revelation, when the angel did not come to him, when he felt alone and afraid, he went to the top of a mountain and thought about throwing himself off. This story is found in some books of Hadith, and critics point to it and say, look, your own books say the Prophet tried to commit suicide. And many Muslims, when they hear this, do not know how to respond. They have never heard this story, or they have heard it and been told to ignore it. Today, we are going to look at this story honestly. We're going to look at what the books actually say. We're going to look at the context. We're going to look at the Quran verse that critics say was hidden, and we're going to find the truth. Let us begin with the story itself. It comes from a famous narration in Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most trusted collections of Hadith. The narration is from Aisha, the wife of the Prophet. She describes the very first time revelation came to the Prophet. He was in the cave of Hira, and the angel Gabriel, came to him and commanded him to read. The Prophet said, "I cannot read." The angel squeezed him and commanded him again. This happened 3 times. Then the angel recited the first verses of Surah al-Alaq. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous." The Prophet returned home trembling, his heart racing. He went to Khadijah, his wife, and said, "Cover me, cover me." And she covered him until his fear subsided. Then he told her what had happened. He said, "I feared for myself." He was afraid that something terrible had happened to him. He did not understand what he had experienced. He did not know if it was from God or from something else. Now, here is where the story continues. The narration goes on to say that after this, the revelation stopped for a period of time. Some narrations say it was a short period. Some say it was longer. The Prophet became sad. He was worried that God had abandoned him. He was worried that he had done something wrong. And then the narration says something that has been debated for centuries. It says that the Prophet thought about throwing himself from the top of a mountain. He would go to the mountain peaks thinking about jumping. But each time he reached the top, the angel would appear and say, "O Muhammad, you are the messenger of God." And his heart would calm, and he would return home. This is the story, and it is troubling. How could the Prophet, the chosen messenger of God, think about taking his own life? How could he despair so deeply? And if he did, what does that say about his faith? These are the questions that critics ask. And these are the questions that we must answer with honesty and with knowledge. Let us first look at the authenticity of the story. The narration is in Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most trusted collections, but it is not the only version. There are other narrations of the same story, and they do not all include the same details. Scholars have noted that the part about the Prophet thinking of suicide comes through a specific chain of narration, and some of the greatest Hadith scholars have questioned its authenticity. Imam al-Baihaqi, one of the great scholars of Hadith, said that this part of the narration is weak and does not meet the highest standard of authenticity. Other scholars point out that the Prophet's character, his deep trust in God, his patience through years of persecution, makes it difficult to believe he would ever consider such an act. They point to the Quran itself, which consoles the Prophet and tells him that God never abandoned him. They argue that this part of the narration may have been misunderstood or added by a later narrator who did not intend to say what it sounds like. On the other hand, many scholars accept the narration as authentic. They say that it is not a criticism of the Prophet. It is a reflection of his humanity. It shows the intense pressure he was under. The weight of the responsibility he was given was so heavy that it would crush any ordinary person. It shows the depth of his fear that he had failed God. And it shows that even in that moment, God did not leave him. The angel came. The comfort came. The Quran came. This is not a story of weakness. It is a story of how God holds his servants when they are at their lowest. Now let us look at the Quran verse that critics say is hidden. They point to Surah ad-Dukha, the 93rd chapter of the Quran. This chapter was revealed during that period when revelation had stopped. The words of God are addressed directly to the Prophet. by the morning brightness, and by the night when it is still. Your Lord has not abandoned you, nor has he become displeased. And the last will be better for you than the first. And your Lord will give you, and you will be satisfied. Did he not find you an orphan and shelter you? And he found you lost and guided you. And he found you in need and enriched you. This is the Surah. This is the Quran verse that critics say was hidden. But it is not hidden. It is in every Quran. Every Muslim recites it. It is one of the most beloved chapters of the Quran, and it was revealed precisely to comfort the Prophet during that difficult time. So why do critics say it is hidden? They say that the story of the Prophet's despair shows that he was not a true prophet. They say that a true prophet would never doubt God. They say that the Quran was revealed to console him because he was suicidal, and they use this to attack Islam. But this is a misunderstanding of the story and of the Quran. Let us understand what was really happening. The Prophet had just experienced something unlike anything any human being had ever known. An angel had appeared to him in the cave of Hira. A voice had spoken to him, filling the space between the mountains. He had been commanded to read, and he could not. He was overwhelmed. He was terrified. He ran from that cave with his heart pounding, his body shaking, his mind struggling to comprehend what had just happened. He was a man who had lived his whole life as a normal person, a merchant, a husband, a father, known for his honesty, his kindness, his calm. And suddenly he was being told that he was the chosen one, that God had spoken to him, that he was now the messenger of God to all of humanity. Think about that weight. Think about that fear. Any human being in that situation would be afraid, would question, would wonder if they were dreaming, if they were losing their mind, if something terrible was happening to them. This is not a lack of faith. This is the reaction of a human soul being touched by something so immense, so overwhelming, that it cannot be processed all at once. The Prophet was not doubting God. He was experiencing the weight of being chosen. And then, after that intense experience, the revelation stopped. The Prophet waited. He did not know why the angel was not coming. He did not know if he had done something wrong. He did not know if God had rejected him. He loved God. He wanted to serve God, and the silence was painful. This is not a sign of weakness. This is a sign of deep love. When you love someone, their absence is painful. When you are devoted to a mission, the pause feels like a loss. The Prophet was not despairing of God. He was longing for God. He was waiting for the next command. And in that waiting, he felt the weight of being human. Now let us look at the Quran verse, Surah ad-Duha, the words of God revealed directly to the Prophet in that moment of waiting. By the morning brightness, and by the night when it is still, your Lord has not abandoned you, nor has he become displeased. This is a direct answer to the fear that had been growing in the Prophet's heart. He feared that God had turned away from him. He feared that he had done something wrong. He feared that the silence meant rejection. And God says to him, "No, I have not abandoned you. I am not angry with you. I am still here." Then God says, "And the last will be better for you than the first." Meaning that what is coming, the mission, the message, the community that will rise around you, the victory that will come, will be greater than anything that has already passed. This was a promise from God, and it came true. The Prophet went on to deliver the message that would change the world. He went on to lead a community of believers who would carry his name for centuries. He went on to become the most beloved man in human history. The silence was temporary. The mercy of God was eternal. And then God reminds the Prophet of his care. Did he not find you an orphan and shelter you? Did he not find you lost and guide you? Did he not find you in need and enrich you? God is saying, I have been with you your whole life. I protected you when you had no father. I guided you when you were searching. I provided for you when you had nothing. Do you think I will abandon you now? This is the message of Surah ad-Duha. It is a message for the Prophet, and it is a message for every soul who has ever felt alone, who has ever felt forgotten, who has ever wondered if God is still there. The answer is yes, He is there. He has always been there, and He will never leave you. And then God reminds the Prophet of His care for him. Did He not find you an orphan and shelter you? Did He not find you lost and guide you? Did He not find you in need and enrich you? God is saying, I have been taking care of you your whole life. I protected you when you had no father. I guided you when you were searching. I provided for you when you had nothing. Do you think I will abandon you now? This is the message of Surah ad-Duha. It is a message for the Prophet, and it is a message for every soul who has ever felt alone, who has ever felt forgotten, who has ever wondered if God is still there. The answer is yes, He is there. He has always been there, and He will never leave you. So what about the suicide part of the story? If we accept the narration as authentic, how do we understand it? We understand it as a moment of intense human emotion. The Prophet was in deep distress. He was carrying the weight of a mission that no human had ever carried. He was waiting for revelation, and it was not coming. In that state of mind, he thought about ending his pain. But he did not act on it. Each time he went to the mountain, the angel appeared and comforted him, and God sent down Surah ad-Duha to lift his heart. This is not a story of a man who lost faith. It is a story of a man who, in his darkest hour, was saved by the mercy of God. It is a story that shows the Prophet's humanity. He was not a superhuman who felt no pain. He was a human being who felt everything deeply, and God was with him through it all. And here is the most important part. The Quran does not hide this. The story is in the Hadith books, and the Quran addresses the moment directly. Surah ad-Duha is there for everyone to read. It is not hidden. It is recited in prayers every day. It is memorized by millions. The critics say it is hidden because they want to make it seem like Muslims are covering something up. But we are not covering anything. The story is there. The Quran is there, and we are not ashamed of either. Because we understand that the Prophet was a human being. He felt fear. He felt sadness. He felt longing. And God comforted him. That is not a weakness. That is a mercy. That is a lesson for every person who goes through dark times, who feels abandoned, who wonders if God is still there. The answer is yes, He is there. He has always been there, and He will never leave you. If you have ever felt alone, if you have ever felt like God is far away, if you have ever wondered if your prayers are being heard, remember Surah ad-Duha. Remember that the Prophet himself went through a time of waiting, and God spoke to him. God reassured him. God promised him that the last would be better than the first, and it was. Whatever you are going through, whatever darkness you are facing, know that the morning will come. The brightness will break through the night, and God, who never abandoned His Prophet, will never abandon you. If you have watched this far, you are someone who seeks the truth, even when it is difficult. You are someone who does not run away from hard questions. You are someone who wants to understand the Prophet as he really was, a human being chosen by God, a mercy to all the worlds. That is what the Prophet path is about. We do not hide, we do not run. We look at the truth with honesty and with love. So please, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, join this path, share these videos with your family and friends, because the truth about the Prophet is not something to be afraid of, it is something to be understood. And when we understand it, we love him even more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeking the truth. And until the next video, remember that God is with you, even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in the darkest night. The morning is coming, and the last will be better than the first.